what I'm seeing a lot in customers when I'm going to meet with them is it's not so much about what the technology is going to allow me to do with technology. It's more of how is this technology going to be used to change my business. And just like in 1991 when Paul was talking earlier about how the advent of the internet really started spurring on this whole individual user experience, and we started seeing desktops on everyone's computer, that was a massive change of business process in the enterprise. We were looking at $5,000 laptops. Not everyone can make that investment, but those that did make that investment, it ended up panning out and making sense. Now we have $400 laptop. I see cloud computing being the very same vein as right now. It's such a different technology and a different adoption process than what virtualization was or what storage consolidation was 2, 3, 5 years ago, that it's going to be this kind of, it's going to change the industry and how you do business that much. Essentially, everyone we're talking to wants to talk about cloud. They don't necessarily know what kind of cloud they want or what cloud is, but because there's so much hype around it right now, everyone wants to be able to understand it and capitalize on it. And the reason why I say some version of it is because we're just getting asked, yeah, I want the cloud. And it's not something that we can walk over, flip a switch on the wall, like Chris was saying. It's a very arduous process. It's very complex. We have to make sure that the proper checks and balances are in place so that the cloud we're providing to you is the cloud that you need and want. This is not virtualization. So the great thing about virtualization is that the speeds and feeds sold itself. When you had 20 servers and they're all sitting at 5% utilization, we could consolidate the hell out of them and put them on 3 boxes. The savings were astronomical and very easy to calculate. What the industry is lacking is the inability to define the methodology to implement cloud because the cloud itself is not really yet defined. Virtualization, easy to define, the methodology is there. What we're doing at Scalar, especially in the virtualization and cloud practices, is helping to define a methodology. We've gone at it from the, let's just look at the technical benefits of it and see if that works. Go sell it to IT and see if IT buys it, and if they buy it, then the likelihood of getting pushed through the organization is higher. That didn't work. It wasn't like virtualization or storage consolidation. Because really, what we're doing with the equipment is not that different from storage consolidation and virtualization. It's the software and management that we're wrapping around that, and the business processes that we're changing, that are drastically affecting business. So one of the things I like doing is defining and telling people how IT affects the business. So the business comes into me, or if I'm interviewing an application owner or a business unit owner, they're saying, IT's got to react quicker to my needs. They're killing me. The solution to that is an easy one. You implement IT as a service. The problem is that your ability to implement IT as a service rests solely on the fact that for most people in this room right now, it is not technically or financially feasible. This is something that I believe when I go and talk to people, and I've said it 100 times. We need to define where you want to be, how fast you want to get there is another big cost center, or something that's going to affect cost largely. So if you tell me, this is my yearly budget, I want to put 50% of my budget towards the building out of this cloud infrastructure, using the tool that you're going to hear about in a few minutes, we can actually build out a phased, milestone-based project with reasonable belief that the resources that we're going to pick and the architecture that we are going to include is going to meet your needs. Current environment snapshot, and it's not a snapshot in the sense that we're only going in and looking at a subset of the data. We're actually going in and looking at running data. We're looking at how your environment is reacting to load. Now it's reacting to utilization. In this aspect of the environment, it might be affecting something up here that you've never really considered. We have the ability to go in and do the forensics analysis using the tool that you're going to hear about shortly. Go in and shed some light on your infrastructure. We define the goals that you have, we define the gaps, we assign the costs, and we compare the costs to the savings that we expect you're going to achieve. We're not talking way out there savings. We're talking hard power, cooling, support, licensing. real values that we can look at and say, okay, well, this actually makes sense. You know, if you take 18 servers out of my environment and replace them with 2, I'm going to save a hell of a lot of space and a ton of power. We can provide that and include that in our analysis and the financial feasibility. And then we determine the action plan. Is the action plan single year, multi-year, multi-phased, turnkey? We architect it depending on what you guys need, what your organization is prepared for, prepared to pay for. So this is essentially what we found, winning with the cloud, is that without understanding where you want your IT to be in 5, 8, 10 years, the cloud offering, to define it for what it means to you is going to be very difficult for me, the architect. I can't design something that I think is going to be great. It's not a, remember this isn't a virtualization discussion. I can't go in and you tell me, I have 23 servers. They're running at 5% utilization and I don't have shared storage, building cloud. I could take a stab at it. I'd probably be 70% where I think I would want to be, but I don't understand your business. I don't understand how IT affects your business. You understand that. So in our methodology, it's a lot about understanding how the business utilizes IT or views IT. Once we understand how the business can actually utilize what the cloud can offer, now we can start offering and mapping and building a business case for the adoption of the cloud. So that automated provisioning, that self-service infrastructure that we were talking about that is coming, is around the bend. It's not there yet, but it's coming. So how is that going to change your business? A lot of self-service is sold just on the idea that my IT guys now don't have to answer help desk calls for a dev. In big dev shops, that's very, very attractive. Not having to go and set up a SAN infrastructure, an ESX host infrastructure, their own little version of a sandbox. They can self-provision that now. And when they're done with it, it actually self-decommissions itself. It blows itself away. That's where the IT as a service, or the self-serve IT, right now where it sits, has the most possibility and likelihood to succeed. Once we do define a gap where you are today compared to where you want to be tomorrow, whether it's server infrastructure that you have on your floor, if you have 18 different platforms running 7 different operating systems, we're going to have a hard time using that infrastructure to get you to the cloud, or to get you to do whatever you want the cloud to do for you. So we define the gaps. Us being a services company, we do a lot of interoperability. Paul talked about our lineage earlier. We understand the complexities when you're dealing with the Solaris infrastructure. And when you want to move Solaris from or Unix infrastructure from Unix to x86. The data collection tool that we use and we rely on when we're doing these studies to give you insight into your environment can actually model a Unix migration from, let's say, Solaris to Power, from HPUX to Power, from Power to HPUX, and then from one of these Unix-based systems onto x86. So this has a huge value when we're looking at Oracle licensing. So we can actually model the environments depending on what you want to achieve. We want to go after a lower Oracle perpetual license fee. That's something that we take into consideration. And we make sure we close that gap. And we provide you options. We'll provide you a Unix option and an x86 option. So determining the technical feasibility is essentially the meat and potatoes of what Scalar does. We help you define what can be done with what you have.